And I did it again. And I said, Aisha, don't watch yourself. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Living with Audacity Season 2. I hope you're all amazing. I hope that as you're watching the show, you're finding yourself in a great place. And if you're not, as I always say, 365 unique days for us to step into our purpose, to step into our power. All right, so what is today's episode about? Today is about healing from comparison culture. This is a big one, especially a journey that I have been on, living audaciously in your own lane. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this is because I feel like over the course of my life, probably not the last 6 years, but definitely early on, I would say, particularly when I was a teen, maybe into my early adult, I definitely felt like I was someone that was always comparing herself. Not necessarily to stars, but just comparing herself to other people. Was I smart enough? Was I pretty enough? Was I doing enough? Like all the things. And certainly as I entered into entrepreneurship, I'm going to tell you, I hit a point very early on in the entrepreneurship game where I was like, I feel like I should be doing more. I should probably be on social media more. I should look a certain way. I should be talking a certain way. I should be posting, like all the flippin' things. And I will say I'm thankfully no longer a victim of self-comparison, or not necessarily self-comparison. I'm no longer a victim of someone who feels like I need to be comparing myself, but it is a really big, it's a big issue. And I think certainly in the era of social media, in an era where we are required to kind of sensationalize our lives so that everybody can say, oh my God, look, she's thriving, she's doing well, her business is doing well, her marriage is great, she looks good, her kids are doing well, that we can really find ourselves overwhelmed with the need to compare ourselves to other people. And so really today's conversation is about how do we break free from comparison culture, really reclaiming the audacity to live boldly in our own lane. Because listen, I said this before, you really don't want to be like anybody else. You want to be yourself. Being unique is actually the real win and not being like everybody else. And so we really, in this kind of need for comparison culture, need to stop looking sideways. I love this one. We need to stop looking sideways and really start focusing inward, right? Easier said than done, certainly depending on what we do, where we're at, our lived experiences. But I'm hoping that after today's conversation, you at least start to think to yourself, okay, what are the ways in which I am spending too much time comparing myself to other people? And other people doesn't just need to be strangers. It could sometimes be we're comparing ourselves to our sister, to our sibling, to a coworker, to our partner. Like, comparison can be against anyone, but I want to tell you it is exhausting. Anyone who's actively watching this, who's in a space where they do feel like they're comparing themselves, listen, hit me up, send me a DM and let me know, how exhausted are you from constantly feeling as though you have to keep up with other people? So that's what we're really going to understand. Like, that's really what we're going to explore today. So one of the first things is really understanding comparison culture. I kind of talked about that. Social media has been a bit of a killer when it comes to comparison culture. I love social media. I'm on it all the time. Big up to the comments and the memes because they keep me up till way past my bedtime. But social media is definitely one of those areas that has created a bit of a vortex when it comes to comparison culture. Sometimes parenting, right? Depending on your lived experiences, depending on how you were parented. I'm going to say this, and this might be an unpopular statement, but West Indians, I'm of West Indian background. This wasn't my lived experience. But sometimes West Indians, we have a bad habit of saying, oh, you're not so-and-so, you're not pretty like so-and-so, you're not doing like so-and-so, thinking that that's a motivator. It's not. More times than not, it actually makes the individual that you're comparing them to feel worse than. Stop it. Okay, it's not a good habit. You can encourage and think highly of someone, but also think and love on someone else who maybe isn't exactly the same. Okay, so I'm going to just throw that out there. I might get a little heat from my aunties and maybe my uncles, but like, it's a thing that we do. Relationships, right? If you are struggling in a relationship right now and you're seeing people in your life that are thriving in their relationship and sharing love stories and how much they adore their partner, It's a lie. I'm kidding. It's not. It's real. But again, sometimes where we're not in a great place, we might feel like, oh, God, I wish like I was in a relationship. I wish my relationship was doing well. And again, this isn't just about intimate relationships. It can be friendships. It can be relationships with our coworkers. It can be any type of relationship. Body image, huge. I will say, I feel like we are slightly shifting when it comes to body image. Like no longer is beauty only dictated by the tall, skinny, blonde, blue-eyed woman or male. I am happy to see that we are embracing bodies of all shapes, sizes, recognizing that we are unique, and that if I compare myself to somebody else, I'm definitely shortcoming myself, right? So body image is a really big one. And we have to think like, what's the root? Like what is the reason why we sometimes feel like we need to compare ourselves? So one of them, and certainly in my own experience when it came to entrepreneurship, was the scarcity mindset. So I am a certified health coach. I do a lot of coaching, facilitation, workshops, one-to-one, really focused on how do we step into our optimal being, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. And I think very early on in my entrepreneurship game, I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to get like clients? How am I going to make sure that I get enough workshops? Listen, I don't know how many people there are in this world, but like, I think someone said there's like 1 billion people on this planet. Believe me when I tell you, the scarcity mindset only creates stress. There are enough people on this planet, in my community, in this world for me to work with. But sometimes when we, again, feel like we need to be on top of our game, we need to be the best coach, the best teacher, the best parent, the best mother, all of those things, then we operate with this scarcity mindset that says, okay, there isn't going to be enough out there for me, so I got to make sure that I'm better than. That's a big one. Certainly societal expectations. Again, I think we're in a space where we are pulling back what normal is and the need to be and show up how society feels like we need to, not the extreme version, but just like within our own space. But societal expectations do that. Oh, you don't like make your baby's food, you buy it. Oh, you don't breastfeed, you bottle feed. Oh, you went back to work instead of staying home. Oh, you're single, you're not married. Like, stay in your lane. Let me live my life and stop comparing me to maybe your own lived experience. But societal expectations is huge when it comes to comparison culture and the need to, again, align ourselves with what we deem to be normal or what society feels is good versus not so good. Fear of not being enough. That's a really big one. Whether that's based on your own lived experience, that's something that people have told you. The fear of not being adequate. Right? Not being able to do enough, not being able to show up enough for people, is a really big one when it comes to comparison. If you have a sibling who, is doing all the things, they're pretty, they're smart, they're married, they have a nice house, they are always there for your parents, and you're just kind of like trying to make it through the day, right? Which could be the case. The fear of not being enough, right? Could be a really big one. And we have to think about, again, our own. So I don't want to just put comparison culture on saying it's only external forces, because again, we have an inner chatter that tells us about ourselves. And sometimes we are our own worst enemy when it comes to comparison. So because we don't see our value, because we don't see our worth, because we don't understand that we possess our own power and our own purpose and are designed to be in our own lane, that we spend more time thinking about how we're not like someone else versus the beauty and the power that we get to be like ourselves, right? And the other thing we have to think about is there's a major cost to comparison, okay? Think about the energy that is expelled, focusing more on what is happening or not happening to you versus what is happening to you, right? First things first, envy. Envy, I mean, I know I'm wearing green today, not because I'm envious, but because I thought it was a cute color and it anyways, it has nothing to do with why I selected green. But envy builds resentment. And that creates a huge cost when it comes to comparing ourselves. The energy that is expelled in being envious or resentful takes up time that we should be pouring onto ourselves, takes up the time that we should be recognizing, again, you know what? I might not have everything figured out. Sure, I'm not like my sister, my brother, my coworker, but you know what? I am exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. The truth is, where you are right now is not your end game. But a lot of times when we're in this comparison culture, where we're focused or hyper-focused on all the things we're not doing or that we're not at, we are diminishing and dishonoring where we are, right? Now, again, it doesn't mean that this is exactly where we want to be, but believe me, there's something to be learned about where you are at right now. The other big cost is burnout for keeping up. Listen, what's that term? Trying to keep up with the Joneses? Exhausting. It is mentally, physically, spiritually, financially exhausting to keep up. And here's something that I want to share. And it's something that I've actually told my daughters. You might be seeing these things online. You might be seeing people wearing the best clothes, the best shoes, looking cute, going on vacations. You don't know what they're sacrificing in the back. You don't know what they're giving up. You don't know how empty they might feel just by looking as though they've got it all. Right? So we really have to be careful around the power or the, like how much value we're placing on what we see. Burnout as a result of comparison culture is real, because the truth is you're not really focused on how you're growing. You're only focused on how you can continue to keep up to whoever you think may be beating you. And I put this word beating in comparison because you know what's really crazy about comparison culture? Oftentimes when we're comparing ourselves to someone else, that person we're comparing ourselves to doesn't even know or doesn't even care or isn't even interested. You want to know why? Because they're not comparing themselves to you. They're comparing themselves to where they were yesterday. The only thing they desire is to be better than where they were yesterday. It's kind of like, I mean, it's not the topic that we're talking about, but it's kind of like holding on to resentment. Right? It's like, I'm going to make sure that this person knows that I'm mad at them and I'm not talking to them. You know what the other person's doing? Going about their business, not studying that you're mad because they don't even know that you're mad or they don't care. Why? Because they're focusing on their own life. Comparison culture is so detrimental to our mental and spiritual well-being because the effort that we're putting on ourselves to be like someone else, again, is the effort we're not putting on ourselves to be our most authentic, unapologetic, and purposeful self. The last one is really paralysis, right? Think about a moment in time when you weren't your authentic self, how you struggled to move forward. Think about a time in a setting where you know you could hear yourself talking. You're like, girl, you are not being authentic. And how you were paralyzed by that because, again, you didn't know how to shapeshift because you weren't being your authentic self. Comparing yourself and being in a lane that actually was never destined for you can actually stop you in your tracks. You're not progressing because you're comparing or you're growing in alignment with whatever you believe to be is the North Star. You're actually paralyzed. You actually aren't moving. You're not growing. You're not, listening to yourself. It can actually create paralysis in your own growth. When we're spending more time, again, trying to be like, look like, sound like. I will never forget. I actually worked with someone who literally made it their business to sound like their boss because they revered their boss. Now, listen, there's nothing wrong with admiring. There's nothing wrong with seeing someone that you're like, you know what? I love their spirit. I love the way they show up. I love the way they talk. I love the way they are grounded and they value themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to aspire to something greater than ourselves, but we should not aspire to be that person because we aren't them. We haven't lived their experiences. And the truth is, we should not want to be somebody else. We should desire to be ourselves, the best version of ourselves. But it was wild because I would go into a meeting and I would listen to this person talk. And then I would listen to kind of like their mentee. And I was like, this is bordering on creepy. The outcome of that was actually burnout because she had to spend so much time kind of shape-shifting and posturing to be this individual that she revered that she lost herself in the whole thing. Now, she subsequently learned and did her own therapy and is thriving in her own lane. But imagine the time wasted by trying to be somebody who she wasn't, right? And so the other piece around comparison culture, which is a big one for me and certainly a place that I've come into my life, is that it really dilutes your uniqueness. I know it's super cliche to be like, oh, you're so unique. And we hear it from our parents. And when we're younger, we're like, you have to say that. You have to say that you think we're pretty and we're beautiful and we're unique. But it's so true. I don't desire to be like anybody else other than a better version of myself the next day, a year from now, 2 years from now. Who I am, both the great side and the shadow, is what makes me unique. And that is nothing that we should be diluting. But comparison culture will do that. We will actually hide or subdue parts of ourselves because it's not what we think is revered based on the individual or the person that we're seeking to compare ourselves to, which means that we're dishonoring our authentic being. Never dilute yourself, whether it is the good side or the shadow, because all of who we are is what makes us why people either love us or people don't like us. I say all the time, I am authentic to the point that you are going to love me the same reason you dislike me, but I'm consistent, right? But it took me a really long time to get to that because I was someone who absolutely shapeshift. I'm someone who did compare herself to other people based on physical appearance, based on where I was in my professional life, based on, what I was doing in my life. And what I realized is that I was missing out on my own life because I was spending so much time and energy trying to be like somebody else. And the truth is the other person it wasn't anybody that I really knew. It was just somebody that I saw that I really revered. And I will say it is still someone that I admire because there's aspects of that person that I love, but I love myself as well. So we really have to be careful around how we are diluting our uniqueness. And I read something that I thought was really cool when it came to, again, kind of prepping for today's episode. And it says, at its core, comparison keeps you in imitation, not innovation. I'm going to say that again because that one hit me. At its core, comparison keeps you in imitation, not innovation. The sole purpose that we are put on this earth is to become the better version of ourselves. That is driven by innovation. It is driven by a commitment to continue to evolve and grow and look inwards and become self-aware and look inwards and self-discover and look inwards and self-actualize. That cannot happen when energy is placed on a North Star that isn't us. The higher being of who you are should be your North Star, not somebody else. I read that and I was like, whoa, that is a gem drop, right? We really have to learn how we embrace our uniqueness. And so again, because I'm someone who likes to give people tools and techniques, it isn't just about coming to this space and sharing gems, but really, how do we start to put a bit of a recognition that maybe we are involved or that we are deep in comparison culture or that we're deep in a comparison, right? Number one is that we have to reframe the narrative. Language is power. What we tell ourselves about ourselves becomes our reality. Okay? So what is it that you're telling yourself about yourself that is creating a scenario where you feel that who you are as an individual in your current state isn't adequate enough? And so you need to be, you need to look like, you need to show up like somebody else. Okay? We need to think about what it is that we're telling ourselves about ourselves. And so one of the first things that you need to do, and this is something that I've shared before, but pause and take notice. Take notice of what it is that you're doing daily. Take notice of the things that you're putting interest in. Are you interested in something because someone that you value or someone that you're comparing yourself to is into it, or is it something that you really want to do? Right? I think about like when I was younger and I wanted to be a lawyer, right? I wanted to be a lawyer because I had friends who were thinking about going into law. It seemed cool. It seemed popular. I actually went through, did a course, did my LSATs, did really well on my LSATs. Was about to apply and I was like, what the hell am I doing? I don't really want to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer because everybody wanted to be a lawyer. It's not because I wanted to. I literally spent time and effort going to school, doing my LSATs, only to come to decide, no, it's not what I wanted to do, right? I should have taken a moment to pause and take notice and say, like, what is motivating you? Am I motivated by my own desire, or am I motivated by what seems popular or what seems cool or what seems to be, what this person, again, that I'm comparing myself to is doing? So really pause and take notice. Another one is celebrate your wins. right? We don't take enough time to celebrate the great things that we're doing. We will spend time lamenting about all the things we're not doing and how we're not thriving or how we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. But we really aren't good at celebrating our wins. And when I say wins, again, I'm not talking about these big grandiose things. I'm just talking about, you know what? I showed up for myself today. I held fort to my boundary today. I honored what I needed to do today. I rested. I read. I cut somebody off today. I broke up with my partner today. Like, we don't celebrate our wins. Because the truth is, when you celebrate your wins, then again, you're tapping inward, and that need to look outward becomes less. Okay. Another one is refocus on values, right? That's a really big one. Values kind of sets our foundation, right? What do you believe in? What is your value base? Where are you putting your energy and your focus? Now, that's not to say who you're comparing yourself to isn't someone that has the same values and beliefs and standards, right? But again, how are you focusing your values inward so that you are evolving as a person rather than spending time ensuring that your values align with the person that you're trying to, compare yourself to or be, as a matter of fact, because we see that a lot. That mimic culture is big. It's really big. And it's really big for our young people who are, trying to look like somebody, right? A star, or trying to have a certain particular body type. Right? That's really big right now. And what happens is they lose themselves in that need to be like somebody else and dishonor and don't have an opportunity to start to unpack who they are. And that is not just unique to young people. As adults, we also find ourselves in that space, right? We also need to be mindful around how we're limiting those triggers. Okay, listen, if being on social media is a trigger because you're constantly looking at yourself after you finish looking at a post, get off social media. Does it sound simple? Yeah, because it is that simple. We have to be able to resist temptation if we can recognize that we're going down a path that isn't good for us, right? I know people are like, Aisha, it's not that easy to come off of social media, but it can be, right? It really can be. I mean, I had a girlfriend, one of my best friends, Rena, she did like a detox. And like when she detoxes. She's off of it for a month at a time. Right? Yes. Is it hard? It probably is. I've never done it myself. Is it hard? I'm sure it is. But when there's a recognition that what we're doing isn't helping us, when we recognize that the things that we're doing are actually counterproductive to our mental, spiritual, emotional, psychological well-being, well then damn, like give yourself the gift and limit the trigger. Don't sit in it and then lament about how you're still struggling. Right? That's up to you. You have to decide how you're going to stop feeling the way that you're feeling. Again, as long as it's within a particular context that you have control over, right? And so what are some audacious practices that we can impart, right? Because listen, comparison culture doesn't just end because you've decided that I'm going to stop comparing myself, right? But the things that I've talked about are ways that we need to tap into ourselves and recognize, I'm probably spending way too much time trying to be like somebody else or look like somebody else, sound like somebody else, dress like somebody else, do work like somebody else rather than doing for myself, right? Daily affirmations. Now, it's not something that I do, but I love daily affirmations, right? Because I know that they help people, again, just to remind, and it doesn't have to be any long affirmation. It could be as simple as like, you know what? I'm unique and I'm here for myself today. Literally. Something that you tell yourself every day, maybe every hour, whatever, right? Another one is goal setting, right? We sometimes find ourselves in comparison culture when we are not setting ourselves up for success. The time, again, that we are spending to be like somebody else is the time that we could be spending being our best version. What are your goals? What are your goals physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially? What are you looking to do in the next month? What are you looking to do tomorrow? Right? What's the goal that you want to hit? Because again, when we're taking our energy and tapping into ourselves, then we ain't got time to be out here looking why we're not like somebody else. Right? So again, what are your goals? Giving yourself grace. Okay? Again, there's nothing wrong with seeking to be like someone that you find inspirational in the way that they show up, the way that they have a value base, the way that they take care of themselves. Give yourself permission to aspire to something, but do not let that aspiration or inspiration become comparison and diminishing where you're at right now. So be mindful of that, right? And the truth is, this is a big one. Freedom comes with authenticity. When you get to be your most authentic self, think about how freeing that is. I will say to you, I have probably felt the most free in my life in these last 2 years that I have ever in the 46 years that I've been on this planet. Well, you know what? Let me take it back. I'm not going to count childhood because I feel like childhood, I had no issues. I had no bills. I had no taxes. I had no pick-me. So like I was free. So we'll say in the last at least 10 years, these last 2 years, I have been the most free emotionally and spiritually and physically and emotionally because I've embraced who I am, all of it. Whether it has been something that I have loved or something that I know that I need to work on, but it is such a freeing experience, right? So see freedom as a gift that comes with authenticity and energy that is not expelled trying to be like somebody else. And so really, as we kind of bring today's episode to a close, I want us to be mindful of a few things. Comparison steals, but authenticity heals. I'm going to say it again. Comparison steals, but authenticity heals. When you step into who you are intended to be, you're actively engaged in the process of emancipating yourselves of the narratives, the expectations, the requirements to be who other people need you to be, and you just get to be yourself. Okay, remember that gem, right? Every time you measure your worth against someone else, like really, when you compare yourself against someone else's highlight reel, again, I want to remind you, and I tell my kids all the time, you're probably comparing yourself to a third, an eighth, a 16th of what is real in their life. I come on this show looking cute, speaking. You didn't see the drama I had, an hour ago trying to get my kids on a bus or the lunch that I had to make or the dinner that I need to hustle. You're getting the highlight reel, right? That's what you are essentially taking time comparing yourself to the great parts of life. Right? So I need us to be mindful again around how we are dialing into a scenario that isn't real or is maybe just an aspect of someone's life that we think is their fulsome life. Right? And so here are 3 takeaways that I want to close today. Number 1, comparison is a thief, not a teacher. Okay? Comparison will steal your time. Tapping into yourself is where you learn the most about yourself. Number 2, your lane is enough. Where you are right now is where you're supposed to be. It's not your end game, but it is the lane that you've been given to grow and to build and to learn from. So your lane is absolutely enough. And the last one is audacity lives in authenticity. You cannot show up as your most audacious self if you're not stepping into your authenticity. If you're spending more time comparing yourself and being who you are not, then you're not living audaciously. Okay, audacious dictates that you are stepping out and stepping into this world as the most authentic version of yourself, right? And so for those who are watching this show, and again, I invite you to DM me, to like, to share, to comment, and share your thoughts about this show. But where have you been measuring yourself against others? And what would you do to fully embrace yourself? I'm going to leave you with that question, right? What would you do, or what have you been measuring yourself against? And what would you change, or how could you fully change if you fully tapped back into yourself, right? Give yourself the gift of loving yourself where you're at right now, understanding that, again, who you desire to be is coming. It's unfolding. It's becoming. But if you're expelling more energy, comparing yourself to somebody else, then you're not taking that time to tap back into yourself, all right? And so I have always a call to action. That call to action, again, is to DM me, to let me know how you're showing up as your authentic self. Even DMing me and say, Aisha, you know what? I'm struggling. I'm comparing myself to somebody. And I really want to understand, how do I shift away from that, right? Like, share, comment, join the vibe, join the movement, and be mindful again of where you're placing your energy, because you are your most unique, valued self. And that's what we want people to embrace. That's what we want people to see, not a carbon copy of somebody else, right? So step into your greatness, step into your power, be your most authentic and audacious self. And I will see you on the next episode of Living with Audacity.